Okay, hello there. We're on to my third tape for you, and this will chime in with your fourth lesson, which today is going to be based on the Irenaean view of theodicy. Now, the last session you talked about the Augustinian view of theodicy. Today you're going to be looking at the Irenaean one, and I want you to do a little bit of research into the way in which Irenaeus' ideas were developed much later in the 20th century by the modern philosopher John Hick, who talked about the veil of soul-making. But let's first of all go back to Irenaeus and remind ourselves what he proposed. Back in 150, around about 150 AD, the Bishop of Lyon, Irenaeus, said, no, you can allow that God created a world where evil was a possibility. The point is that if you're going to create a world where humans can choose good, notice humans have to have free will again, humans can choose good, they can also choose evil. And if they can choose one, then they can go in the other direction as well. But this choice, unlike the choice of Augustine's theodicy, this choice is actually the way that God made the world. He actually intended the world to be this way. Remember, in Augustine's theodicy, God made a world where he didn't intend people to have a choice which would lead away from perfection. Whereas here, God says, no, evil is very much a part of the world I'm creating. But the point is, I want you to use the evil to overcome and look towards good, to try to create something decent out of your lives. And every step in the right direction towards good is a victory, and every step away from evil or towards evil is a setback. Okay, so God maintains a distance. Now, God, of course, can be involved in his world, and Irenaeus had a difficulty getting round this point because, of course, God can and should be involved in his world. But why doesn't God step in to save us from the evil or bad choices that we make? Well, as theologians and philosophers developed the ideas of our Irenaeus, they came up with the idea of epistemic distance. Epistemic distance, which is to say that God deliberately hid himself from mankind. He deliberately set himself a little way away from mankind's daily experience, so that although he could step in, he chose not to. He chose to remain hidden, to keep himself back so that our choices, when we make them, are genuine choices. We have to experience the horrors of life. You look at the 20th century and you look at the things that really knocked people's faith in God. Probably most of all the two world wars, the Great War of 1914-18 and what we call the Second World War. These two world wars, perhaps more than anything else in the 20th century, knocked the faith in God of so many people, certainly throughout this country and throughout the world. Why? Because people thought God should have stepped in and done something to prevent, for example, the extermination of the Jews in the concentration camps. Why would such a horrific thing have been allowed by God? The answer in Irenaean theodicy is God maintains an epistemic distance. There has to be an horrific evil, the very real essence of evil, for people to make real choices in the face of it. You know, if you're going to show human sacrifice, human honesty, human bravery, you have to do it in the face of something which is really genuinely horrific. I will stand in your place in going into, say, a gas chamber. That's an act of immense self-sacrifice. And you can only have those things if there is an evil in which to do them, in the face of which to do them, if you understand what I'm saying here. So you have to make a sacrifice because there is a genuine evil in front of you. And this idea of epistemic distance worked itself out in John Hick's theodicy in the late 20th century. And John Hick spoke about a veil of soul-making, very similar to Irenaeus' idea that as we go through life, we are having our souls worked on by the things around us. We're seeing the things around us and it's causing us to understand what we need to do to be better people. And John Hick said one more thing which I want to bring to your attention before I finish in today's preamble, and that's that You can't understand the nature of evil effectively, or the nature of good effectively, and that balance between good and evil in your life, until after you've died. It's what he called eschatological verification. I'm sure Mrs. Agor will put that on the board for you. Eschatological verification means that at some point in the future, way beyond the end of your life here on earth, when you have gone to heaven and you've got some sort of resurrection experience, when you see things in terms of the whole of your life and your death and what lies beyond your death, only then can you look at the nature of the evil in your life and see it in perspective. You see, what we do, says John Hick, is we look at evil in our lives and we say, isn't that outrageous? Surely God doesn't need to have that much evil to teach us the lessons that we need to learn in our lives. But hang on a minute, we are only looking at it up to the current point in our lives. John Hick says, if you wait until after you've died, until after the resurrection, the eschaton, that's another name, a Greek name for resurrection and life beyond. If you look at it after that point, and then you look back on the evil in your life, you'll see it was but a small part of teaching you to move you on to something far, far greater. That's how they justify evil according to the Irenaean tradition developed by John Hick. Well, you've got work to do. I want you to look today at the work that I've given you. Based on this, go and make the notes, have a look at the passages I've given you to read, and see what you think about his ideas and whether they hold up. Have fun.